and in particular, reptiles. Ooh, doggy, that was a pretty close call right there. Oh hey, good morning everybody. Welcome to the vlog. I hope the start of your day is absolutely incredible. Today is going to be a little bit of a departure from the kind of day in the life type of vlog because I want to cover a topic. And that topic is the 7 mistakes that I think people make when they want to breed snakes. And quite frankly, there might be a lot more than 7 mistakes. As a matter of fact, as this vlog goes on, I'm going to want you to comment down below and let me know your thoughts, what you think people make a mistake on, or if you agree with me. The first one is this one right here. That's right. They think it's easy, and let me tell you something, it's far from easy. And what I mean by that is, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people think that we just like play with snakes all day. How awesome is that? It's always fun, but the truth is, the majority of successful snake breeding comes from all of the really hard work, the mundane stuff, the cleaning, the feeding, all of that, because if you don't do that well, if you don't keep your animals well, you don't feed them well, you don't do all of that kind of maintenance type of work, you are not going to be successful. And trust me, cleaning, feeding, watering, all that stuff takes a tremendous amount of time. So the fact is, you have to be extremely vigilant or very, very dedicated in that way. And the fact that the animals always come first. I mean, these animals don't take weekends off. They don't have holidays. They don't have vacation time. They always need to be clean. They need to be fed. They need to be watered. You have to make sure that you are willing to put in that type of work. It isn't easy, people. Is it worth it? Absolutely, it's worth it. I love it every day of my life. You know, the last day off I had was Thanksgiving in 2016. Last time I checked, that was quite a while ago. And honestly, it's not just me that works hard. Let's go ahead and ask Lori when the last day off she had. Lori.
Yeah.
When was the last day that you had off?
Day off?
Yeah, like the last day off of BHB where you didn't work at all.
Like a full day off?
Full day off.
I don't get those. I work 7 days a week.
7 days a week. So you think in the last 6 months you've had no days off?
No full days off, no.
That proves my point. And although most of my crew takes the weekend off, besides Jessica, who typically works, I actually force my crew to take that time because I don't want them to burn out or anything like that. Lori and I pick up the slack when I'm in town, obviously, and when I'm not in town, Lori has to do a lot of it herself. But the fact is, they would probably work 7 days a week too because that's how dedicated they are. Again, it is not easy. You have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to work hard because the fact is, it's probably 10 times harder than you would think it would be to be successful when it comes to working with any type of animals, and in particular, reptiles. Ooh, doggy, that was a pretty close call right there. But I don't want you guys to think that working hard is a bad thing, because the truth is, it is totally worth it. Again, if you love what you do, it's not a big deal, but do keep in mind that it's not easy, people. The one thing I always say that it's hard, but if you have a reason for doing it and you have a purpose for doing it, it doesn't feel like you're working, if that makes any sense. Again, there's that old saying, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And in this case, it's absolutely true. Ball pythons, rainbow boas, sand boas, woma pythons, black-tail crebo snakes, blue-tongue skinks, like potato, reticulated pythons, gorgeous green tree pythons, and yes, even blood pythons. So the number 2 mistake that people make is right here. That's right, not working with animals that you're passionate about. And the reason I'm holding a blood python is I've gone on the record many times saying that I've had a love-hate relationship with these little monkeys right here, which are blood pythons. I get them, I love them, I raise them up. For some reason, I just don't like working with them. I typically get rid of them, and then I have regret that I got rid of them, and then I start to raise up new ones again. It's kind of one of those things that I can't explain, people, but the fact is that I only work with animals that I truly want to work with. And some people make the mistake of working with animals because they think there's some kind of financial gain to it. Ball pythons, for instance, which I absolutely love, and I started working with ball pythons when there was no money in them, before people absolutely loved them in all these crazy morphs, and it really became an amazing kind of an investment type of animal. The truth is that a lot of people that didn't even like ball pythons got rid of whatever it was, the reticulated pythons or corn snakes or whatever, and they started working with ball pythons, not because they loved the animal, but because they thought that they could make some money on it. Now, there is nothing wrong with wanting to make money on things like ball python. But if your passion is working with something like this beautiful black corn snake here, then work with corn snakes. That doesn't mean you can't work with corn snakes and ball pythons, but my point is, to be really truly successful working with any animal, and in particular with reptiles, the thing that I have spent 30 years doing, it means that you have to be passionate about it. You have to wake up in the morning and you cannot wait to get around those animals and do that work, or you have to get home after a long day of work and say, I still have 6 hours of cleaning my snakes, but I absolutely I'm gonna love it because I'm passionate about it. You won't find that passion if it's an animal that you don't truly love. And if you don't love it and you don't work hard at it, then you're not gonna be successful at it. Next up is that people don't do enough research. That's right, you think that I've read this book enough times. I've often actually quoted this book on this blog. And this, of course, is Living Snakes of the World by John Mertens, and I have read this book about 1,000,000 times. Now, hey, listen, I'm not saying go to the library and get yourself a book. You can go on the internet now. The interwebs has all kinds of information on it, but be careful, because just because you read it on the internet doesn't mean that it's true. With that being said, if you do enough research, it's going to really help you in your quest to try to be successful at whatever you're doing, and in particular when it comes to breeding reptiles. Now, I've spoken about the fact that sometimes over the last decade or so, the reptile hobby hasn't been the best hobby when it comes to answering questions, what some people call newbies. But the fact is I think that is changing. There happens to be kind of a new guard in the reptile world that are willing to help you. I mean, there's guys like Miguel at Always Evolving Pythons, Brian Cusco, Mike McGrath, Billy up at Mutation Creation, not to mention a whole ton of other people. Go down in the comments and let me know who your favorite person is in the reptile business that gives you a lot of advice. The thing that I love about the reptile hobby right now is that we're changing from that kind of like elitist type of situation where when someone comes in as a new keeper, people aren't really helpful in our saying, do your own research, don't ask those questions, you're silly, you shouldn't keep reptiles, to this new guard that is actually happy to help people. I've always been happy to help people, and you should be happy. As you learn reptiles and someone comes in, it's your responsibility to make sure that they know everything they need to know. And if they ask a question, even if you think it's some kind of a newbie / silly question, you should be willing to answer, because after all, we asked those same questions when we started getting into this hobby. But that doesn't mean that you should be lazy. Definitely check into things, try to do your own research, learn as much as you possibly can, and then if you want to ask someone like me or the people I spoke about or anyone else that is willing to help you, it's always going to just kind of concrete those answers in your head. And the more you know, the more potential chance for you to be successful. First banana ball python I bought, $25,000. First scaleless head ball python sold for $50,000. Cinnies, $15,000. Albinos, $15,000. Pastel clowns, $45,000. Pieds, $25,000. Ivory ball python sold for $125,000 to Chad Brown from Pro Exotics from Peter Call Reptiles. Why am I telling you all this? Oh doggy, I'm going to get some people upset about this one. But one of the top 7 mistakes that people, I believe, make is this. That's right, they invest too much money. Oh no, Brian, you didn't just say that people invest too much money. What I'm trying to say is that don't spend all of your money before you've learned how to work with these animals. If you have $10,000 and you want to start a reptile business, don't spend all $10,000 up front. Get started a little bit small. Maybe invest yourself $1,500 or $2,000. Get your feet wet. Find out, number one, if you love doing what you want to do. And then number 2, find out, can you do it? Will you be successful before you blow all of your money on one investment? And let me tell you guys, if I was watching this video like you guys are right now, I would say, Brian, you are a hypocrite. Hypocrite! That's right, because the truth is, from the time I got involved in this hobby, all I did was spend every dime that I had growing a collection, trying to do this for a living. So I'm kind of tore on this one, to be honest with you, because I went through some great times, I went through some terrible times, because I was just swinging for the fences constantly. Every time a project came up, bam, I was on it. Hey, look at the Reptarium, right? $45,000 over budget. I didn't do that by being conservative. So I guess what I'm saying is that there's a fine line between going too far and not far enough. You want to be confident, you want to go for things, you don't want to leave it on the table, but at the same time, it's not for everyone. Over the last year being involved in this reptile hobby, I have seen so many people get into this, spend every dollar they have, mortgage their house, do everything just to find out that it's not for them. Whether they didn't work hard enough, whether they just didn't like it, whether it was a hobby, but when it became a business, it was no longer fun for them. It didn't work out. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of people actually don't succeed when they're trying to be a business when it comes to breeding reptiles. It's only a small percentage of people that actually achieve that goal. For all the things that I'm talking about now and will continue to talk about, the fact is if you get started, you're a little bit more conservative in the sense that you don't go broke trying to get going breeding reptiles, but at the same time, you're putting everything into it, then I think you have a chance of being more successful. I think sweat equity is more important than equity. With that said, I do want to continue to tell you guys, these are my opinions and observations that I've seen over the last 3 decades. You can take them with a grain of salt. You can either trust me, you can listen to me, or you can make your own opinion. And listen, we can still be friends. This next one is something I could probably talk about for 2 hours, to believe it or not, and that is, don't ever do this just for the money. Now, with that being said, cookies and cream is the perfect example of why money really doesn't matter. You should be doing it because you love it, because you get a lot of joy and you get fulfillment from it. Now, with that said, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I am not embarrassed of making money, and you shouldn't either. Whether you're in an animal business, at a job, or whatever you happen to be doing, never sell yourself short. Never be afraid to tell people that, hey, I need to make money to make this worthwhile. After all, I couldn't have all these animals if I didn't make enough money to support these animals. But the point is that don't do it because you want to make money. Do it because you really love it, and that's going to make you more successful at doing it. Because if the money is the only thing that you think about, you're going to make decisions that probably will impede the chance of your success. You'll go, oh my gosh, I shouldn't buy cookies and cream because that's too much money and they may not live and that's a silly investment. But the fact is, who knows what could come of something like that? The exposure that the reptarium is going to get, or just the joy that I'm going to get, or other people are going to get, or maybe some kid's going to walk in and not be that interested in reptiles, but he's going to see cookies and cream, the two-headed snake, and go, oh my god, that's amazing, and it's going to create curiosity. My point is, don't be embarrassed to make money. Hey, we all need to live and we all need to eat. With that being said, don't ever work with animals or probably just about anything if all you care about is the money, because if that's your only motivating factor, you've already failed. This next one I'm going to give you a couple examples of, and that is people give up too early. Now, this happens to be an axanthic hognose snake. We actually had the very first axanthic hognose snake. Bought it from a guy out in New Jersey, and quite frankly, the animal just was not a good animal. I actually saw it a couple years before. The guy showed me a picture, and I was really into hognose snakes. It was the very beginning of when people were really interested in hognose snakes, and I saw it and I go, oh my gosh, I've got to buy that animal if you want to sell it. And a couple years later, truth be told, the animal wasn't doing very well, and he decided to cash out. So he called me up and said, hey, Brian, do you want to buy this for $5,000? And I thought to myself, I'm going to take a swing on this one. I bought it. The animal just wouldn't eat. It did terrible. And ultimately, within about 6 or 7 months, it perished. I was devastated because it was the only axanthic hognose snake, and I wanted to produce one so badly. But the truth is that the word got out that I had an axanthic hognose, and another guy in Florida actually had two that he spontaneously had. He contacted me and said, yeah, I had heard that you had an axanthic. I have two little babies. Would you like to purchase them? I went ahead and purchased them, and that's when we actually produced and sold the very first axanthic hognose snakes at BHB Reptiles. My point is, I didn't give up. I could have kind of just licked my wounds and felt sorry for myself and never pursued the project again. I wanted to keep going, and then all these years later, all these axanthic hognose are out there, and if I would have given up, who knows what would have happened. Hey, someone else might have bought those animals, and it might be the exact same position, but my point is, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy the success of having axanthic hognose and all the other mutations that we produce from these if I would have given up. Another example I want to share with you is piebald ball pythons. I love piebald ball pythons from the first time I saw the first wild-caught picture many decades ago, and the fact is that I was able to buy a wild-caught piebald ball python before they were proven genetic. I paid $15,000 from Peter Call. The animal only lived a very short period of time because it was wild-caught, it wouldn't eat, it was skinny when Pete sold it to me. Now, I could have just rolled over and said, oh well, I lost my money, but the fact is, Ernie Wagner, a guy out in Seattle, Washington, actually had another piebald that was wild-caught, and he produced a clutch of what was heterozygous, but you gotta remember, we didn't know if they were genetic. Ernie reached out to me and said, Brian, I heard that you bought that animal and died. I'm getting $5,000 a pair for these hets, but I feel terrible for you. Would you like to buy a pair for $2,000? Now, I could have said, hey, I lost 15 grand. I'm not going to invest another $2,000 into that project, but I decided I am not going to give up on this project. I spent the $2,000, and 2 years later, I produced my very first piebald ball pythons. Peter Call, ironically enough, the year before, proved Pie's genetic, and guess what? I sold my first pie that year for $25,000. That's right, I made the 15 I lost, I made the 2,000 I invested in a pair, and I made a profit on it. My point is, do not give up. If I would have given up, I wouldn't have been producing pies for the last 20 plus years. If I would have given up, I would have lost all that money. There's that old saying that you never know how close you are to succeed when you've given up. Don't give up, people. If you love what you're doing, keep going, because that's what's going to make you successful. And my final point is have fun. People that fail typically fail because they're not enjoying what they're doing. Don't get all stuffy and everything else. Enjoy yourself. Have a good time. Trust me, if you're loving what you're doing, it's going to be worth it, and you're going to want to do it even harder, which means there's a good chance that you are going to be more successful. I realize there are going to be people that say, Brian, you talk too much in this vlog. It's boring. You didn't show animals. But the fact is, this is something that was on my mind and in my heart that I wanted to share with you guys. And I hope somebody, anybody, somewhere took something out of this and actually enjoyed it. And for those of you that didn't like it, I will be back to my normal vlogs tomorrow and we'll show you some amazing animals. And I think we're only 3 or 4 days away from the Reptarium install, so it's going to be absolutely crazy. With that said, I am going to go ahead and end the vlog. Let me know in the comments if you like this vlog. If you'd like me to do more vlogs like this in the future, I'm happy to do it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do me a couple other favors while you're down there. Can you smash that like button? Turn those post notifications on. Remember to always be kind to someone, and I promise I will see you guys tomorrow.